Welcome to another episode of Good Company. This week, we sit down with Sam Merton from Bayside Golf, who's building one of Australia's fastest growing residential and commercial golf sim companies. We talk all things tech and what's changing the game in this space. Enjoy the episode. Sam, welcome to the show, mate. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. How are you?
I'm doing really well, thank you. We had a good chat coming into it all, but there's still going to be a ton of questions, as you know.
Yeah.
You're working on some really cool stuff. So, founder of Bayside Golf, founder of Birdies as well, which we're going to get into, but a very cool golf sim, commercial golf sim, resi golf sim. Mate, you're tearing up that space at the moment. So really interested to hear, who's Sam? What are you up to?
Yeah, where do you want me to start?
Who's Sam?
Who's me? Okay. I guess the background, I worked in corporate IT distribution for 7 years, and then relocated to Brisbane, having a family, so needed more space. We were originally based in Sydney, and having a family with, obviously we're from the UK, so having a family here without any help was quite daunting. And one of the things that came into my mind was, okay, golf's going to be pretty tricky because that's like 4 to 6 hours away. How is that going to work? And were fortunate enough to buy a house with a big garage, and I started to go down the wormhole of building a golf sim. And that's how it started. And yeah, it's one of those things you look back and go, oh my God, there used to just be a net in my garage, like not even a golf net. And then there's like a patch of grass from Bunnings. And that was like 3 years ago. So. And
now you're known for one of the fastest growing golf sims, all golf sim brands in the space, really. Yeah. So, mate, really cool. And I love how you have a family and then your first thought is, how do I play golf?
It wasn't my first thought, or I won't admit it was my first thought.
Yeah, right. So the tech background obviously has helped because a lot of where your brand really stands out is from the tech side of the golf sims. Talk to me a little bit about the career coming into the business. So what were you doing in IT?
I worked for a global distributor who distributed the big networking brands. And that's obviously like right in the corporate sector where, you know, you learn about huge businesses essentially, and channel models are really important. And weirdly in the golf sim world, and I guess any other industry that's like essentially selling to a consumer, any sort of product is largely the same. You have a manufacturer or brand, then you have a distributor for that product who then on sell to resellers or partners, and they sell to a customer. So it was the resemblances, and there wasn't that kind of learning curve with the golf industry because I was like, well, I know how this works. It must be the same, right? And, you know, talking to those brands about what Bayside Golf was and how we wanted to be independent and sell any brand, not try to focus on one, helped us to build those relationships from the start and kind of say to them, here's what we're doing. I understand the model. I understand how this works, and here's what we want to do. So I guess it was I was quite fortunate that there was those similarities. So I didn't feel like this whole new world.
So going back into back to the inception, you're in the space, you're seeing all the brands coming through, all the major networks. You are a golf fan, so you're a bit of a golfer yourself.
Yep.
And then having the family, you've realized, right, I've got a bit of shed space here. Let's build an awesome sim. And somehow between you building out that sim for yourself, you've realized there's an opportunity being brand agnostic, selling multiple brands or...
Yeah, I think the brand thing actually came second. The first thing was the first sim I built was terrible. The second sim I built was terrible. And probably 7 or 8 of them were terrible.
Right.
But joining groups and asking questions about, okay, where do I buy good stuff from? Most people are in the US. So your responses are always based on people, you know, that have this. Obviously, the US is huge and massively, golf is a huge sport in America. So the brands they have there are so strong. They've got, firstly, there's loads of them. Secondly, the quality of their products, they're all made in the USA. They don't really import stuff from China. So most of it's like super high quality, pretty good price. But in Australia, there's no way you're going to pay those import fees to bring something in. And then if something goes wrong, you have no local contact. And don't get me wrong, there was a couple of places in Australia that were doing it. But from my perspective, it didn't look like they were doing the same thing that they were in the US. So my ultimate goal really was to build the enclosure product. That was the first thing that I got obsessed with, trying to build this enclosure that I felt would be better quality than what was available currently in Australia, which was a long process that took months with loads of different iterations, sending things back to the manufacturer, and my wife always comments about how I would just be there with a tape measure saying this needs to change by 25 millimeters and just, refining it over time, which was so exciting. And then once that product went into mass production and we launched that product, that's when I think it took off in terms of we've got a baseline product to work with, but we also have a business model that we want to achieve, which is we don't want to just stick with one brand and go, hey, let's sell as many of these as we can. We want to be that trusted advisor because, again, we could see in the US, there's businesses there that sell every single brand under the sun, and they seem to be the go-to place because I think people feel they can have that conversation of, all right, well, what do you recommend for me? Because there's a lot of options, but then I want to pair that with quality products as well.
So this is about 3 years ago, Bayside's born.
Yeah, and we started it obviously from home, and I ran that from home as long as I could, and obviously worked alongside, still in the corporate sector. I only resigned this year, which was against the accountant's will. They were kind of saying, you need to come and work for the business full time. Like there's money there. It's a good opportunity. Like you can spend more time on the business, and obviously running it as a side hustle essentially for 3 years was great in some respects. But I think this year was like, okay, now this is too much. It's not
a side hustle anymore.
It wasn't a side hustle after the first year, to be honest. It was, in terms of size, it was enough. But I always had this thing of when you own a company, you have this newfound respect for a job. So being an employee is so much easier than being a business owner. I know maybe employees wouldn't agree with that because they think you're the one making the money and I just work for you. But for me, like the job I had was so good that I didn't want to let go of it. So I was like, well, I'll just hire more people for Bayside and then that can take care of itself. But that's quite naive because it doesn't, unless you've got a CFO, a CTO, a CEO, you're not going to walk away from your own business. There's too many things that you're going to be dragged into, right? So,
and I think that's the part I was really interested before the show kicked off. Like you've been really growing this thing for multiple years and stayed in like the corporate job, as you've said. Do you feel that that's cost you growth on the Bayside, regardless of how quick it has grown? Would it have been?
You'll never know. Like you'll never be able to prove whether it would or not. But ultimately, yes, I think being able to dedicate your full time to something is absolutely going to make sense. And when you're passionate about something as well. Look, IT was great, and I wouldn't lie and say I was passionate about it, but it was an industry that I loved, and I felt that the people I worked with, the actual industry itself, had so many benefits. And again, made it harder for me to make that decision. If I was in a dead-end job that I hated, I would have been gone 6 months in. Been like, I'll just make my money there instead. But like I said, it was a difficult one because I had, again, worked with great people, had a really good lifestyle with that. But again, as one grows, you kind of have to go, well, what decision do I make here? And it certainly wasn't going to be, sell your passion project. So
when this, sorry, man, I'm jumping a little bit back because this is really interesting on the product launch part. So when you figured out the right tech to be using in your own sim, was there a moment in time that you took that to market and just everything changed, or was it just a slow, gradual climb from?
It's quite weird. I think I've been asked before, did you know that this product would be successful, or like, did you know it would ever be like this? Most people, I think, go, no, I wouldn't dream in a million years it would end up being like this. But I did have this thing of, I can see quite clearly here that I can see there is a product missing. And I think if it's good enough and marketed well, I think it will be very successful. I just didn't see how that wouldn't work. And I think, when you design any product, there's a risk because, this isn't a small item that costs $20. These are like $3,000. So up to $3,000. So when you're investing in mass producing something, it's essentially a risk, but it didn't feel risky at the time. I thought, and it's like a lot of things. If I don't do it, you're always going to regret it, right? But I think that the actual product itself, once I had that final prototype, I was super confident because I looked at it and said, well, this is it. And we went through 6 months of testing, and it's still to this day like our flagship product and always will be.
That's right. So that's so that's 6 months into the business to get that. And it's been 2.5 years since finding that product, and you guys have just grown.
Yeah. And even then there's been little tweaks we make, but not too much, like some tiny little adjustments we've made over time. But yeah, it's good to have that main backbone of the company that has always helped us. But also it is just a fundamental part of a golf sim. Like it's the thing you're hitting the ball into. So everything's important, but that's, up there. So.
Yeah, it's the signature offer. Okay, mate. So talk to me about like what's the average customer come to you for? He says, "I've got a big bit of space here in the shed. I'm a golf fan. I want to build a sim." And talk to me about the two different or the endless potential that you guys can offer after that stage.
Yeah, I guess golf's a great business to be in because golfers in general are obsessed. Like it's one of the sports where I know everyone loves their hobby and wants to play as much as they can, but golf just feels to me like it's just for most keen golfers, it's like an obsession, right? So it's a great business to be in because when we talk to customers, it's an exciting conversation. It's a great luxury product to buy. So they're really good conversations that we have with people. But in terms of the typical scenario, I guess, is like you said, someone's got space, they're a golfer, they don't have time, that's generally it. Or they do have time, but they also want more time. So they can't get enough golf. So if you have a golf sim in your garage, great, because I want to play at midnight or I want to go and play for 30 minutes in the morning before work or whatever it may be. So it could be the most common scenario is someone has the space. Generally, they're in areas where they have that luxury of having the space, a shed or whatever it may be. And then they come to us essentially with a budget. That's the first thing we ask, what's the budget? Because from our perspective, we don't really want to get into the weeds of talking about the technology for too long because ultimately, if you give me a price point, I'll tell you where that gets you. And we're, like I said, that trusted advisor with no real ties to anyone in particular. It's here's what we believe is the best budget, best for your budget, and here's what you're going to get. Now, if you're a golfer that's off scratch and playing incredible golf and really refining your game, if you come to us for $7,000, we're going to be super honest.
Like that's the thing that's really interesting. Like golf communities, they are that. Once you have a community behind a product, they're all going to talk, and obviously that's part of probably the success in the initial stages. They've found that the product ticks the boxes. Talk to me about the community that you're now starting to build. So you're outside of just building it for everyone else. You've got a new facility opening for golf fans. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so as part of Bayside Golf has always been a home sim company. We've always sold. I don't like the term DIY because it makes it sound like you've got to go and cut loads of poles or use like bungee straps with stuff and cut things. I don't like the term DIY, but essentially most of what we sell is something you can assemble in your own home, put it together, but it's not going to look DIY. It's it looks custom. It fits your space. Everything is neatly aligned. The way we do turf and hitting mats, everything looks like a commercial facility when you install it. So we're very particular with how our customers install our packages, and we have very detailed guides on how to get that right. And obviously our team help if you need it. But that's kind of the bulk of our business. But we've this year moved into custom and commercial. We partnered with a company called Webster Built, who've got, I think, nearly 6 years experience in building high-end custom simulators, which is it's almost a different business entirely because it's a service-based custom, much more tailored approach to your situation, and obviously there's a cost with that as well. So since partnering with Webster Built, we've had around 4 solo opportunities, or what we'd say like home opportunities, and then we've built a few custom commercial facilities as well. So we've built one in the west end of Brisbane, Urban Fairways. We've just finished building one in Cleveland, the Golf Nest. We built a couple for me at Bayside Golf in our demo facility, and we've just finished building Birdies, which is my facility in Redland Bay. So I've always wanted to own a golf sim facility. It's just there's a few things you need to get right, and they were always like, one day I'll take a look. But 1 month, literally around 4 months ago, the stars aligned with a premises. Everything just seemed to fall together too easily, and I was like, okay, we're going to do this and let's do it. So that was a super quick turnaround. I don't think there's ever been a golf sim facility built or like fast. From conception to opening. Pretty crazy, and
it looks exceptional as well. We had the opportunity to walk through it, so I'm really excited for you in that venture. I want to just close off with, if someone's getting started, because there's going to be a heap of listeners out there that are in Sam's situation, probably 5 years ago. They're in a job, they have the idea that they can do it better than what's currently being done. Where would the advice be around getting started?
I got lucky because I was so passionate about it. Like when I left my corporate job, I had so many people messaging me saying, "Oh my God, I've wanted to start a business for so long. I just don't know what to do." And I guess everyone feels like that and we all want to run a business. But if you're doing it because you want to run a business, you're probably not going to get there or have the drive to actually put the time in. Because if you're working full time and then you want to build a business, but you don't really care what it is, I don't think you're going to have the same drive that you would if it was genuinely in your passion. So for me, the build up of basically conceptualizing Bayside Golf wasn't through the need of a business. It was genuinely out of curiosity. Like I just wanted to go down this path of trying to build something, and I wasn't particularly focused on, well, we'll turn this into a business. It just kind of happened as the product got to that point. I was like, okay, now this is really good. I'm happy with this. And then it just grew from there. And like I said, you don't stop and think about it. You just, after 3 years, you go, oh my God, how were we there at one stage? But you just keep going, right? But I guess advice for people, if you can do something that's a passion, it won't feel like work is the first thing. And I don't think anyone will work harder than you.
Completely agree. Mate, closing this off, where can they find you from here?
You can find me in 2 places, Bayside Golf, which is in Redland Bay. That's our main HQ, where we're predominantly an online business, so baysidegolf.com.au. If you'd like to check out our home sims and commercial, or give us a call to chat with one of our team. And Birdies is now open in Redland Bay. So if you're a golfer or getting into golf, or even a pro looking to refine their game, you can come and see us at Birdies in Redland Bay.
Mate, brilliant. Thank you. We'll drop them in the show notes. Thank you. Thanks for checking out another episode of Good Company. If you enjoyed this show, I'm sure you'll like many others just like this one. Check out the show notes and the links for free resources by clicking the links above and below.